Hello, the purpose of this short video is to give you some travel tips on travel to Cuba, and it's based upon my recent week-long trip to Cuba in January 2015. There are many ways for an American to get to Cuba, some legal, some illegal. I signed up with a licensed tour group company called Rhodes one of the many different tour groups offering licensed trips to Cuba. Costs a little bit more than going on your own, but it's legal. And of course, this is an area that's in flux and will be changing probably in the near future. The Rhodes Scholar program is a not-for-profit group. They sent a guide with us. They are licensed by the United States Office of Foreign Assets Control on the people-to-people category of licensed trips to Cuba. There were 24 of us in our group. We were given instructions to gather at a Miami airport area hotel, and we had an indoctrination orientation meeting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we left very early the next morning on a charter flight to Cuba. These charter flights are operated by many different air carriers. There were about 8 of them a day at the time I went. Our particular charter flight was operated by World Airways. Sun Country, a tourism tour group vacation company, also operated some charters, and American Airlines operated some charters. The flight from Miami to Havana is 42 minutes long. There were about 200 and some people on the plane. Our group of 24 was just part of that group. That flight is very much like any other domestic United States airline flight, except, of course, you are flying internationally to Cuba on a 42-minute long flight. The checked baggage was very interesting. There were a lot of Cubans traveling to visit family in Havana, and their checked baggage consisted of the kinds of things that we Americans might buy at a big box store. They were checking luggage such as bicycle tires, automobile tires. One person had a double stainless steel kitchen sink. Many people had flat screen televisions, and they had these things bundled up with their checked luggage. And so at Havana's Jose Marti International Airport, when the baggage claim carousel was opening up and coming out, it was the kinds of things you might see somebody buy at a Home Depot store or a Walmart store in America. And these were the way that these people could bring goods to their families in Cuba. The first thing you might want to know about is money and currency and changing your money. As of January 2015, no American credit card or debit card or ATM card works in Cuba. There are announcements that this is coming soon. MasterCard has announced that effective March 1st, Americans may be able to use credit cards in Cuba. But what we did was bring United States currency and exchange it upon arrival at the Hotel Nacional, which is the large iconic hotel in downtown Havana. You can also exchange your US currency into Cuban money at the airport. The Cubans have a dual system of currency. They have the CUC and the CUP. The CUC is the convertible peso, the Cuban convertible peso, and the CUP is the Cuban peso, used only by local residents, and it's in that way that they get their income from the government, and that's what they spend when they buy groceries or goods and services in Havana. But the tourism and the outsiders use Cuban convertible pesos. The Cuban convertible pesos are pegged to be worth $1 each. But when you exchange them upon arrival in Havana, you get 87 Cuban convertible pesos for every 100 US dollars. And then on your way out of the country, at the end of the country, you get 87 US dollars for every 100 Cuban convertible pesos. So the fact that it's 87 to 100 is not exactly an exchange rate. The exchange rate is really like 1 to 1 with a 13% service charge on that transaction, regardless of which direction the transaction goes. So it was very easy to go up to the front desk at the hotel at Hotel Nacional and peel off several $100s, and the clerk quickly and pleasantly gave you 87 Cuban convertible pesos for every 100 US dollars. And other than the fact that you're losing 13%, you can easily trade your money back on departure from the country. Um, so, if the law changes with respect to credit cards, I think the next question would be how many Cuban merchants will accept credit cards as payment? When we were there in January of 2015, uh, people from Europe could certainly use their credit cards. People from Canada could use their credit cards, but we didn't see any merchants accepting credit cards routinely as a method of payment. So that might have worked for hotel lodging, but it didn't look like it would work in any restaurants we went to. Um, the uh, the first thing we did was we hopped in one of the vintage old American cars for a taxi cab ride to from the Hotel Nacional, which is on the Malacan in Havana, to the old town, Havana Viejo, or old town part of Havana. It was a 10-minute ride, a 15-minute ride. It was $7 or 7 Cuban convertible pesos. We paid the man with pesos. Uh, the cars are interesting. They're beautiful. They're well maintained, but mechanically, they're not tuned up very well. There's a lot of pollution. It can be unpleasant actually riding around in these old convertibles because of the smog and the smoke that belches out of them. So it's maybe not too different from what America was like in the 1950s before pollution control standards. But additionally, the cars are probably not well tuned up because of a lack of resources. People ask, what should I bring on the trip? Well, other than weather appropriate clothing, I think it might be a good idea to fill some empty space in your luggage with rolls of nice, soft American toilet paper. That's always something you could give away as a gift, seriously, or leave behind or consume during your trip and make space in your suitcase um, for souvenirs or trinkets you might buy in Cuba. Um, the Cuban water is not consumable by anyone without getting you violently ill, the tap water. The Cubans don't drink it, and Americans certainly shouldn't drink it. Uh, some of us brushed our teeth with the tap water in the Hotel Nacional, but no one drank it, and the Cubans don't even drink it. That's because their infrastructure is so bad that their water mains lose pressure regularly, and sewage water and underground water infiltrates into water mains when they are not fully pressurized, and the water becomes contaminated. So they are living under a 365-day a year boil order, in effect, because there's germs in their water. Now, we were given a couple of bottles of bottled water every day. You can drink bottled water. You can drink beer. You can drink bottled drinks. The better hotels and restaurants all have a purification system for water, so we were told, and it proved to be, that it was safe to eat cold salads that had been washed in purified water. Ice cubes in the nice hotels and nice restaurants were made with purified water and were safe to consume. The Cuban environment in Havana is a friendly and very safe environment. We didn't have any fear of street crime. There are no beggars. There are no homeless people that are hitting you up for money on the streets like you might find now in any American city. The the streets have a feeling of Disneyland sort of safety to them. Maybe because street crime would be punished so harshly. I don't know. The food was okay, it wasn't great. We ate a lot of chicken and we ate a little bit of pork. Um, the um, the fruit was great, but the chicken's not so good. The pork's not so good. We had beef one night. It was really not good at all, and it's in very limited quantities. So you might get a little bit of protein, like chicken or pork, maybe a piece of fish. You'll get black beans and rice with almost every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Um, the hotel food was safe to consume. We ate breakfast every day at the Hotel Nacional. Uh, the uh, the breakfast was a large buffet. It wasn't the best I've ever had, but it wasn't bad. We didn't see any um, alternative place to buy food. We went to paladars, which are private restaurants owned by families in their homes often. We went to a couple of government restaurants. Uh, Not many of us bought cigars because, frankly, the Cuban cigars don't look very good and they don't look as good as they used to. They're priced fairly high, and you can probably get a good Dominican cigar in the United States for less than you can get a not so good Cuban cigar in Havana. That's a change from 20 or 30 years ago, um, but the Cuban cigars that I saw looked like what you might find in a stale cigar selection in an American gas station or a bar. Um, the beers that are available are brewed by the same brewery. There's Bucanero, which is the dark beer or the stronger beer, and Cristal, which is a lighter beer like a Pilsner, reasonably priced. The internet is slow and expensive. You can get internet access at the Hotel Nacional. An American can get access there, whether you're a guest of the hotel or not. It's $7 or 7 Cuban convertible pesos for 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, you might be able to see your email. You won't be able to upload any photographs or download any photographs because it's just painfully slow. I think it's about the dial-up modem speed from America in the early 1990s. So if you think you're going to get on for 30 minutes and check a few websites from home, that's not very practical. If you need to make sure that your family's alive back home or you want to let them know that you're alive, you can use it to send a few emails, but it's not an enjoyable experience. Um, Hotel toiletries at the Hotel Nacional weren't too bad. They actually had shampoo in the room and bar of soap. They weren't very good quality. And those are things you might want to bring. And you might bring those to give them away to local people as well. So bringing a good bar of soap and some good hotel-sized toiletries might make your stay a little bit more pleasant. Cuba runs on 110-volt currency. 110-volt electric current. So it has the two flat prongs that we're used to in the United States, but some hotels also offer 220-volt for Europeans. Now, all of your electronic devices, such as computers, laptops, digital cameras, digital phones, electronic phones, they all internally will convert 110 or 220 automatically, but you will be greeted with receptacles that are similar to the receptacles in the United States, so you will not need a plug adapter. A good idea, however, is to bring a 3-plug tap, which you can get for about $1 at a home repair store, so that when you plug it into one outlet, it gives you 3 additional outlets. You might do this because there aren't many outlets in a hotel room, and you might want to recharge your laptop and your phone and your traveling partner's phone and recharge the batteries on your digital camera. So I've always found it a good idea to bring either a 6-foot cheap extension cord, so I have 3 outlets instead of just one. Even if it's just a short little cheap extension cord, it gives you some additional electric outlets in your hotel room. Be prepared for bad infrastructure. The sidewalks are uneven, there are potholes, but bring a camera, bring your best camera, bring a laptop to dump your pictures into, because you will find that the picture taking is great. That Cuba is a very picturesque country. The people watching is great. The people are very friendly. I've covered most of the things that I wanted to cover, and I hope you might have found this a little bit helpful. I think 6 months or a year from now, these observations may have all changed. Your mileage may vary. This is my experience based upon having gone there in April of 2001 and again in January of 2015. So my experiences may be different than your experiences. But if you're wondering what you're getting into, or if you're thinking about going to Cuba, I strongly would encourage you to go. Remember, when you get there, if you're going on a guided tour, you'll be greeted by what's called a step-on guide, a person who's a resident of Cuba who works in Cuba, works for the tourism agency called Havana Tour. It's a government agency. They will join your American guide and ride with your group for the duration of the time you're in Cuba. You ought to be sensitive to the fact that they are Cubans working for their government, working for the Cuban government, and it would be uncomfortable for them to talk candidly about their true feelings about their government or the relationships between their government and our government. And therefore, you have to be sensitive to that and just respect the boundaries of what they can talk about and what they can't talk about, what they frankly don't want to talk about. So if you were on a tour in America, you might get a tour guide who would openly feel happy to criticize the United States government. In Cuba, the feelings are a little bit different. They don't have a constitutional right to free speech. They work for the government. They have to be careful of what they say. And you won't find a guide who's an employee of the government of Cuba as a very candid source of observations about the Cuban government. But the people are wonderful. The food is okay. The mojitos are wonderful. The sun and the warm breezes are wonderful. I encourage you to go. I hope that you found some value in these remarks. Thanks.